All right, well, we have started the recording. My name is Melissa McGurk. I'm one of the international trade managers at EDPNC. Welcome to this month's Export Coffee Talk. I will provide a brief overview of EDPNC's export-related services, some housekeeping notes, and then we'll dive into today's topic: cultural and business practices and trends in Germany and some surrounding areas such as Poland and Italy. EDPNC is a public-private partnership. We are charged with North Carolina's economic development growth. For those of you on the call who are not familiar with the international trade team at EDPNC, our goal is to help you reach and succeed in foreign markets. We offer a combination of free services to include consultations with our foreign offices, such as the lovely ladies that are leading the call today. We also have free educational webinars. We have a grant program designed to help to ease the financial lift of outreach to foreign markets. If any of our international trade managers are on the call, go ahead and chime in and introduce yourself. I'm not sure that I saw anyone today. We have people on the road traveling. So I'll just give it a quick second and see if anyone chimes in. Any ITD managers on the call? Yeah, figured not today. We are assigned by industry. You can refer to EDPNC's website to locate the email address of the appropriate trade manager for your industry if you'd like to find out more about our services. So for housekeeping notes, as already noted, the call is being recorded so that people are able to reference it at a later time. We encourage you to utilize the chat feature for comments and questions, but we also welcome you to raise your hand and just chime in. We have a couple of key goals through this series. First, we want to bring you information about various aspects of your export journey by inviting experienced professionals to offer their expertise. But second, we want to give you the opportunity to have dialogue with these experts as well as with your North Carolina company peer group. So peer-to-peer dialogue is encouraged. Feel free to write each other if someone writes a comment. As they're speaking about an experience. We've had connections kind of leaving these calls in the past, and we encourage that. So at this time, I'd like to introduce you to your key speakers. I am going to invite them to say hello and correctly pronounce their names, and then I'll give you a brief background on the individuals, and then we'll get started. So Linda, could you make sure that everyone can see you? And
yes, Melissa, hello.
There you are.
Morning. Hey, and the correct pronunciation of my name is Linda von Delhaes-Guenter, which is also very difficult for a German-speaking person. So don't worry.
Oh, good. Okay. Thank you. Linda is a managing partner and co-founder of AHP International, and she leads the public trade and capacity building services as a managing partner. So Linda is both German and Italian, so she's a native speaker to both. Well, you learned German after you were born, but you have the skills, the background, the leadings to really provide the intercultural expertise in those areas. She's worked in international business for 25 years. Linda has assisted U.S. companies for more than 10 years in their business development in Europe. And AHP International serves other states in our country. Besides just North Carolina, they have a network of states that they support. Next, we have Franziska.
Yeah, hi, good morning, Melissa. My name is Franziska Wegerich, also quite challenging to pronounce. And I'm looking forward to today's webinar.
Great. Well, Franziska has been with AHPI since 2015, and as a senior manager and head of public trade services, she coordinates the business unit and her team of consultants working with export development agencies such as EDPNC, and various clients around the world. Franziska runs several trade desks for US states and other European clients with her team and has supported US companies in the past 7 to 8 years in entering the European market. Next, we have Suzanne.
Yes, thank you, Melissa. The right pronunciation would be Susanne Grünewald. But yeah, the American version would be Susan as well. So it's a pleasure to meet all of you online.
It is a pleasure. Oh, and I should mention that both Linda and Franziska are in Germany, and Suzanne is in Poland today. And she started her career at AHPI 2 years ago at the Warsaw office, and which is business hub for Central Eastern Europe. She has been working on various trade projects with Franziska and assisted U.S. companies into that market as well. So thank you for being here, ladies. There's a couple of other people that have joined the call, and we will introduce them and thread them in at an appropriate time. So thank you very much. Go ahead and kick it off.
Yeah, thank you very much, Melissa, and good morning to everybody on the call from North Carolina, and good afternoon. For us, it's after 4 p.m. to Susanne and Franziska in Poland and Germany. Yeah, we are very happy to be here with you today, and together with your coffee you're having in the morning on a Friday morning, to give you as much information as possible on Europe, on Germany, on the actual situation and business culture. And as Melissa said, we would be really happy if it is a talk, not just a monologue. So please go ahead, type in some questions in the chat, but also, yeah, if you want to jump in and just add things, we are happy to, right? And the first thing I have to say about intercultural business, the Italians would find it very polite if you interrupt them while talking, because that means that you find the content of the talk so interesting that you can't wait until the end. So you have to jump in and ask questions. While in Germany, it would not be very polite, and also not in Poland, maybe, if you would just interrupt somebody. But please discover the Italian in you and, and just interrupt us if there's anything you want to know further. Yeah, as Melissa said, my name is Linda von Delhaes-Guenter. I'm the managing director of HP International. HP International is an international consulting company since 30 years on the market. And we are now in the second year representing North Carolina here in different parts of Europe, mainly Eastern Europe, Northern Europe, Central Europe, German-speaking Europe. Yeah, and Italy also is a recent development. And yeah, as you have seen here, we I have two colleagues here online with me. So it will be hopefully an interesting talk from different perspectives. The Italian perspective, which is mine, then the Polish, which is Suzanne's, and Franziska from the German side. Yeah, and you will experience that Europe is very, there is not one Europe, but there are many, many different countries in Europe. Okay, so maybe we can put on our presentation, Franziska. Do you have it? Because we still have the covering slide.
It should be on already. I have shared my screen. Emily.
Yes, here. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let's go on the second slide before we start. A short view on the agenda. I would like to tell you a little bit more about HP and who we are for the ones who are not knowing us yet, our background and what we can do for you. And then we will briefly touch in a kind of discussion style on the US and our region Europe in comparison, because for some US clients it is not clear how it is in comparison. So it is very eye-opening sometimes, the slides we show. And then also the current impacts in Europe and Germany, the situation we have at the moment. and also the megatrends we have being, of course, very important for getting to know about opportunities, what the future will bring to us. And the last point will be the business culture we touch on. But before we start, I think we go to the poll questions, because we would like to know you also a little bit better and to see, besides your name and sectors you typed in, a little bit more about question number 1. So what is your current export rate? So just to get to know if you have no export at all, or we just put it less than 30 or more than 30%. Or equal 30%, to just have an impression, how experienced the audience is today on the call. And the second, immediately after, would be, what are your export destinations? Of course, the neighboring countries would be one option. And then you can, of course, type in more than one option if you export to all of the 3. Second would be Europe, and the third would be other continents, for us to give us a background how experienced you are already in Europe. Of course, question number 1 is just one option, right? Either 0 or 30 or more than 30. And the third question, we will then put it in later on when we talk about the business culture. So if you would be so kind to just answer quickly to question 1 and 2. So now, Emily, how does it work? Okay, we will see it in a, okay, that's quick. Excellent. Okay, so we have, more than 30% or 42%, that's great. So meaning that we have a quite experienced audience, but also on the other hand, 32% that have less than 30%, and also a quarter more or less that has 0%. Okay, so it's a very mixed audience. Okay, great. And the second is, Europe, 84%. Wow, that's fantastic.
Very impressive.
Wow, excellent. Wow. And other countries and neighboring countries. Okay. No, but I'm quite positively touched by this, Melissa. We have so many experienced exporters already to Europe. But we can also help you even to get more experience. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for answering the questions. The third question will be answered later on. Show me, please, the next slide. Okay, just 2 slides about my company. My company is now 30 years old, and since then we have been helping small and medium-sized companies in their internationalization. We started with German companies to bring them abroad. It was 30 years ago, just a German-Dutch consulting company. And then our clients pushed us towards, you know us already, you have done a great job in the Netherlands, please go ahead and do other markets for us. And this is how we came up with, one-stop shop for business. Now we are active worldwide for German companies outbound, but also we added 20 years ago the inbound. And also, besides corporate consulting, what we are doing still for private on a private basis, we added public clients. So we have, we are working for, as Melissa said, already 5 US states we are representing, and with several more states. I think in all it's 12 or so on a project basis. And as you said, we have been working since 2010 or so for US companies. And since then we have, I think, supported around about 2,500 US companies from different states to be successful here in Germany and Europe. So we have quite a track record, I would say. It is cross-sector, cross-country, and all projects are challenging and exciting for us. Our main and core service is still trade of services and goods. As I said, outbound, inbound, and private and public. But we added some years ago also FDI promotion. So trading with capital, helping capital to flow in different countries. And also capacity building. So we are quite complete because this is the transfer of know-how. So we are dealing with all these things and are quite complete as a company. Since 2 years, we have been working for North Carolina, and we have helped around 30 North Carolina companies per year, and in different countries. And you will have Gaby from Tana Pharma later on to talk a little bit about her experience also with the services. But what we can do for you is everything to pick you up from where you're standing in your internationalization process. Being 0%, then we can offer you market assessments, market analysis, market entry strategy for the different countries we're covering. If you have 30% of export, then we help you a little bit in the expansion of your export bases you already have. Maybe you're not happy with distribution partners. We can analyze the situation and see what we can do. We can maybe give you some hints, on how to do it better. And even if you're already an experienced exporter, we can help you in, also the expansions or other countries you are not in, to look for business partners, to give you some hints about strategy, about how to help you on trade shows, in business trips, to give you company background checks if you got to know suitable companies in Europe. So this is all what we can do, and please challenge us with your requests.
I'll chime in on that. So for those on the call, keep in mind that this is a free service that EDPNC offers. It has separate from our grant offerings. So you just need to contact your trade manager and we can plug you in with the expertise that's represented here. And Linda did just now mention trade shows. If you are going to a trade show that is not affiliated with us, it's not one of the shows where we're offering co-exhibiting space, but it's just a show you're going to in the region, don't forget about these services. And we want you to allow these offices to help you prepare for your trade shows in the region. That was just a plug. Don't forget that even if you're going out on your own, we are here for you and we want to service you and help you succeed in that market. Every time you go to the region, keep us in mind.
Thank you, Melissa, for jumping in. I have seen some comments in the chat from Kathleen, for example, trying to export product to Germany in R&D quantities, chemical, yes, experiencing some difficulties. Restrictions and regulations. Any help is welcome. Yes, of course, Kathleen, we can help you. Oh, my video is not switched on. We can help you, of course, with you maybe are referring to REACH, all these things that are really not really very nice here to overcome, but of course we can help you. We are happy to afterwards. Okay, all right. So a little bit, that was a little bit an input about our company. So please let us know if you need any help. We are happy to help you. We have an extended network here in Europe and have seen a lot of successes already, which makes us really quite happy and comfortable and and excited about really helping further companies from North Carolina. Yes, Franziska, the US and our region, that's your topic. Please go ahead and show us a little bit the difference and comparison.
Thank you, Linda. And also thank you, Lisa, for your message just in the chat. Suzanne and me are currently working on a trade show matchmaking. And I also saw Fran from Richmond on the participants list today. So these are two companies as an example where there's a trade show, but no EDPNC booth, but still our office is available to help and support reaching out to contacts. Yeah, the US and our region, this is really normally my favorite slide when we have new to export companies from the US. However, we have a lot of experienced exporters here. So this is just maybe to recap. I'm sure since 84% of you already are active in Europe, you already know how small Europe is compared to the US. However, we briefly wanted to show this slide because we think size-wise, it's very important to look at the US with one language, more or less the same business culture in different states, and at the same time also on a federal level, the same legal framework. This is not the fact in Europe. You have so many different languages, so many different cultures. On an EU level, of course, a similar legal framework. However, each national law also is sometimes specific to different products. For example, in the healthcare regulations, besides the EU MDR, the medical device regulations, there's also on a national federal level a specific legal framework. On the right side, this is an older picture from 2019. However, we think it's very important to look at the GDP that is equaling a region covering several US states here. And as you see today, we want to touch on Germany, Italy, and Poland. However, you see that the GDP in the small European countries is quite large. So just to set the mindset a little bit, but yeah, let's look into the German market at the moment. And of course, as you know, there are current economic impacts due to several factors. And I would like to hand over to Linda, because of course, in the last years, she has been also assisting economic development organizations and agencies in shaping their programs and concepts towards those impacts in Germany and other European markets.
Yes, thanks, Franziska. And yes, of course, we have to talk about the current situation, because you all know from the press and from TV and whatever, what is going on here in not just Germany, but Europe. And as you said, of course, we are also working for economic development organization, clusters, associations, sometimes really to help them to somehow cope with all those challenges. And I mean, the good news is Germany's economy is still solid somehow, despite all the challenges. I put this first. And of course, you can have the slides afterwards from us, just to give you some input, so you don't have to write everything down. Solid means not really growing, but at least stable and not really declining. This is the good news. But if you see, and I could talk a long time about this topic, so I just make it short on one slide, because we have some other topics to cover. But European companies, and I'm saying European because the challenges are everywhere in Europe, not just in Germany, really at the moment have to cope with many, many factors and a combination of them that they never had before, experienced before. Meaning that everybody really has to be now thinking about how to go on, how to adapt the business to this different challenges we have. COVID-19 and the pandemic has been a challenge, of course, in the last years, but nowadays the good news is that we have moderate infection rates, most restrictions are eased, and we really have the impact of COVID now is not as big as in the last years. But of course it changed the business attitude. It changed a lot of mindset also, because nobody ever had experienced this situation before. And Germans are, you will learn it later on when we talk about the business attitude, are already risk averse, but now with the uncertainty they experienced due to pandemic, it has even increased their risk averse mindset, right? They had, of course, experienced the disruption of supply chain. They had to relocalize supply chains to find new suppliers in Europe, due to the stopped delivery by Asian and Chinese suppliers, and to invest more in major trading hubs. And also the whole business style and communication has changed. We in Germany are not the ones who are the forerunners in digitalization, right? Not as you Americans. Nobody was used to really video calls or working decentralized in a home office, e-commerce, e-health, whatever you can imagine. so that really we had e-learning also, right? When the schools closed down, it was a chaos because nobody had really the tools for this. So we had to really pick up very quickly in digitalization. And now the style of communication, you know, everybody's used to video calls. That is totally normal also to do presentations in here. And you can also do business now, at least in the first steps, by video calls, which was totally different before the pandemic. So this is something that has changed. Yeah, once we overcame the pandemic, then the war broke out in Ukraine, which is something I would never have expected in my lifetime on my continent after 75 years to have a war again. It's really terrible, despite the whole, I mean, besides the humanitarian catastrophe, but all the economy also break down again, supply chain bottlenecks, again, challenges in logistics we already had in the pandemic, yeah. Import demand from Eastern Europe was less. We experienced the tremendous dependency from Russia in all our energy supply, and you know, prices increased for food, for energy, for raw material. Things were not easy to have anymore, easily to import for us, which we are not used to, right? And so all prices under pressure. And besides this, also a lot of refugees coming to Germany, also to Poland as neighboring country. In the first 10 weeks after the war, 5 million already, right? So you have to somehow help those people and try to, you know, take care of them, which is also a big impact on the economy and on the whole, you know, system we have here. We are very happy to have Ukrainians here because another challenge that is not on the slide is the lack of qualified workforce we experience at the moment. So we are really happy to have refugees, people qualified here in learning German and really being integrated in our working system, which is really precious for us. But again, staying with the challenges, the next challenge is inflation, right? A record rising of costs, prices. We never had this. In the beginning of the 50s, we had 10% inflation, but since then we never experienced it again. Now we are at 9.2. Poland is at almost 16%, in Italy almost 12. So this is really something new to the companies, and it is a vicious circle. I mean, you know, increasing costs, so you have to increase the wages, otherwise the purchasing power goes down, and it is a vicious circle. So it goes on, and we are really in a challenging situation, and we have to find the ways out of it. Coming to the climate. Energy crisis, climate neutrality, also things we have to cope with, and we have to find new strategies, new technologies for. The energy crisis with the rising of prices, 70–80%. I mean, for private people, for companies sometimes relocate. Energy intensive companies go away from Germany. Also something that is a new development because they can't afford and be competitive here, right? And also for private people, it is really a disaster of this, I mean, households that have to pay so much more for their energy supply. So meaning that really, we have to, again, give money to public energy defense shield, to really have to see to put caps on the prices and to see how we can really navigate through this difficult situation. And climate neutrality is something really good. Green Deal of the EU commitment to get CO2 neutral until 2015. We even 5 years before in Germany want to do it until 2045. But we really have to go big steps for this energy transition. It is not there yet, and it is a long way to go. So again, this is also a challenge for companies, right? So just to show you a little bit, you know, how the mindset is in Germany, but not only limited Germany, it is also for Europe. And keep that in mind if you talk to your business partners. And but still, I mean, Germans are very open for opportunities. We are depending on international trade. You know, Germany is not thinking without international trade. I mean, still through the pandemic, through the war, our positive trade balance remained in Germany. And we really need that. And German companies are really not going down in their international efforts and in the international, sales and purchasing, right? So this is the good news, despite all the difficulties. Yeah, I don't know how you see this in the US, if in the news, if things that I'm telling you here is new or not. But it is really something that is having a big effect on companies here, especially small and medium-sized companies.
Is there anyone on the call that can chime in that has had any of these kind of trends affect their business overseas? And you might not, but just wondering if there is anyone on the call that's had some direct consequences from these overall trends. Yeah, so maybe these are kind of the hidden effects.
Yeah, Daniel, I was about to call you. Anyway, sorry, Melissa. Daniel is in here. I was about to call him because he's the German living in the US. And how do you see Germany from the US? Sorry.
And Daniel, can you introduce yourself real quick before you comment?
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to, and thanks for the invite, Melissa. Hi, everybody. My name correctly is Daniel Düren, but Daniel is perfect. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm heading the NRW Global Business Office, which is the trade and invest agency for, economically speaking, the most powerful German state of North Rhine-Westphalia. Cities such as Cologne, Bonn, Düsseldorf are located in that state, just so you know approximately what state I'm talking about. I 100% agree with Linda, what she just mentioned. However, it's in my state, it's not too negative, really. Of course, the energy crisis, etc., it's all the same across the board. However, we have the most international companies who are looking to expand into our state in North Rhine-Westphalia, which is quite interesting to us as well. Maybe it's because of the currency exchange, right? The dollar is so much stronger compared to the euro than it used to be, 5-8 years ago. And we just settled down Rivian, for example, which everybody knows. We just settled down Plug Power last year. They're investing in our state. TJ Maxx is investing in our state of a huge logistics facility. So that being said, companies are still looking to expand, and that is a good sign from my side. Yeah. Inflation, yeah, absolutely, 8.7%, I believe, in February. That's way too high. I think we're working on it. The energy crisis, we were really pulling a lot of gas from Russia. I'm not sure why we did that over so many years and made ourselves so reliable on one country, but we did, and there are reasons for it, of course. However, within 1 year, we are pulling literally zero gas out of Russia, and we're pulling our gas from different countries now. So politicians have reacted, and we have luckily gone away from the Russian gas supply. Climate neutrality. My state, personally, we're very heavily invested in hydrogen. So we are trying to be climate neutral by 2035. That's a goal our ministry of the state set. And so for us, the whole green tech, clean tech sector, ag tech, super interesting topics. And I saw some people on this call in those sectors. So I'm here. I'm available to chat more after this great webinar. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you, Daniel, for this input. And for the bridging to Franziska and to the megatrends, because we want to come from this, situation we have to the opportunities that might arise from there. On the next slide, showing the megatrends. Franziska.
Yes, thank you. And Daniel, maybe you're so kind to put your contact details in the chat so people can maybe also directly reach out. I think that would be great as well. Well, I actually think that was the perfect bridging to me, because both Linda and Daniel, you have both touched on several trends. We call them megatrends that have been here before, even the pandemic, the war in Ukraine, and all the impact it has on the German and European market. As most industrialized countries, we had an issue with our healthcare system, a lot of chronic diseases, for example. Energy and environment are, of course, topics to secure the energy supply and also maintain the environmental and sustainability aspects of it. Digitalization in general was a huge topic, but at the same time, of course, also the reshoring of supply and value chains. Daniel, you have been touching on the topic of logistics, which is, of course, due to the pandemic and disrupted supply chains, as well as from the impacts of the war, a big topic. However, those trends have been here before, especially also due to reoccurring political discussions, of course, also with China, for example, to really take the supply chain back to Europe, and also to focus more on the business relations with US suppliers. As you can see, we have put in green here the megatrends that kind of evolved over the time of the pandemic, and especially also with our new German government, our federal government, which is dominated by the Green Party, and therefore focusing a lot on climate action and protection, and on the sustainability goals, infrastructure and mobility, low to non-emission mobility concepts. Energy and constructions, of course, are also big topics, and digitalization is really making its way not only into industry, IoT, or industry 4.0, as we call it in German, but also into healthcare, into energy, into the workplace. So after the pandemic, it is sure to say digital is here to stay. And as we put this here on the right side, all those will reflect on several opportunities. We kept this broad because, of course, we know there are different companies from different industries and subsectors here today. But again, it is really our job to support our US clients, and especially from North Carolina, to identify individual market opportunities and also potential business and distribution partners in the German market, to really touch on market opportunities.
Hey, Franziska, I'm going to chime in just because you were talking about various market opportunities. I saw in the chat that Mike asked the question, is it realistic for a US company to consider defense sales to Germany? The focus seems to be on German and EU industry only for defense equipment. Do you have any insight into sales to Germany's defense industry? Defense.
The defense sector as a public sector is, of course, a complex and challenging one. Procurement is very bureaucratic, especially in the German market. So this is something we helped and supported US clients with, to find a local partner to really get access to upcoming public tenders and bids, because as you might imagine, it's very bureaucratic in Germany. At the same time, right now, the government tries to speed up the process as well. So this is something, please, Mike, reach out to us or to your related EDPNC International Trade Manager, so we can get a project started.
Thank you.
Okay, so before we wanted to go to the next slides and talk a bit more on business culture, communication, and basically the business etiquette in Germany Poland and Italy, we wanted to have a second poll question to find out more about what's your perception in working with different business cultures in Europe. There are plenty of differences, of course, also some similarities, but at the same time, it can be challenging to work with Germans. And I think especially in breaking the ice, also for trade shows, it is very important to have in mind that there are different business cultures. So we want to know, how is your perception working with different business cultures in Europe? Do you think it's challenging? Do you think it's not challenging? Or is it challenging for you in some countries and cultures? Feel free to also use the chat to let us know what you would think about the more challenging one, or if there's maybe even best practices, and we'll later also try and have this in our Q&A session.
I'm just chiming in on the one that I have. So I'm attempting to just do question 3, which is what we want everyone to do. And it's not letting me submit. So maybe everyone's going to have to just redo their 1 and 2 in order that they could also submit it with 3 being there.
Yes,
I don't know.
I think that's the case. You have to click on all 3. So Emily maybe can pull up the poll again, or yes, okay. We see that I can see there is 0% who think it's challenging, 8% not challenging, and 92% challenging in some countries and cultures. So feel free to put in the challenging countries in the chat so we can maybe touch on them, or do the next slides touch on maybe one of the most challenging ones, as I find, being German myself and working with international clients. I see that there is, of course, some challenges in working with Germans. Germans are not natural networkers. That's why we are trade show country #1 in Europe, and we need the trade shows to be brought together and are kind of forced to network with each other. Well, Germans are very quality oriented. So made in Germany is a sign of quality all over the world. And it's also inbound into the German market, very important. To really highlight this, it's price follows quality. It's not vice versa. And I think that's very important to understand when talking to Germans, as well as showing the pedigree or track record and all the different resources, certificates, company information, the infrastructure, and of course, the references for maybe major clients in a sector to share with Germans in order to create trust. This sharing of information is very formal. Germans have a very written communication style, especially when it is in English. There are still many Germans who would prefer to first receive information in a written form by email or in attachments to go through it in a very thorough and detailed way and properly review. So it's very important to also pay attention to detail with Germans, because Germans are very known for the fact to pay attention into details and at the same time have a lot of questions. It's very important to prepare for meetings, prepare questions for meetings, and also to prepare for potential questions by the German companies or meeting counterparts in order to be able to answer it. Germans have a very process-driven attitude, and that's why this thorough preparation is so important. In addition to the kind of process-driven attitude and how we act and engage with different people in business, is that we have a very professional contact with each other and normally refer to other people in German, not by their first name, but with a formal Sie in order to approach someone with the last name. Punctuality, the second point here on the slide, of course, is also very, very important. And at the same time, Germans are also very punctually ending their workday. Especially in the manufacturing sector, this might be very important. Germans tend to start between 7 or 7:30 and therefore end their workday quite early, which can create some challenges with the time differences. But this is due to the fact that Germans value the work-life balance as well as keep it very separate in their professional and private life. So there is not a lot of mixture of personal aspects. This is also relating in the fact that Germans really value their personal space and are less physical when having business meetings or so. Even a German customer, for example, for a long time, still our advice is always to stay with a handshake.
Hey, Franziska, I'm just going to chime in for
Sure.
a time check. So it's 10:50 right now. I love, that we're in the topic, want to keep going, but
Yes.
I also want to make sure we have time to engage with Gabby a little bit and to allow a little time for feedback. We can make an optional for if there are people that want to stay past 11, perhaps we can, but meantime, we'll just still try to cover the key points, but knowing we have that 10 minutes.
Perfect. So Susanne, maybe you can just very briefly touch on the differences that the Polish contacts and customers for US suppliers would have when entering the Polish markets.
Sure, Franziska, thank you so much. As Melissa mentioned, I'm located in Warsaw, that's the Polish capital, and I'm working on projects with our Polish team. So for me, I would be really glad to tell you a little bit about the differences, about the Polish business culture from my experience and from my perspective. Poland has a very unique business culture, which is very much shaped by its historical and by its cultural background. So understanding these key features of the Polish culture is really important for anyone who's looking to do business in Poland. I guess one of the most important aspects of Polish business culture is the emphasis on building strong personal relationships. Poles really value trust, they value loyalty, and they prefer to do business actually with people they know and they trust. So building personal relationships and establishing trust are really critical to succeed in Polish business. Poles value hard work, value diligence. As well as the Germans, it's a nation of hard workers. They expect the same level of commitment and dedication from their business partners. Another key feature, I'd say, is the emphasis on formality and protocol. Poles take business meetings, negotiations very seriously. They accept their counterparts to do just the same. This means that it's really important to be well prepared and to be professional when conducting business in Poland. Polish business culture is actually known for its straightforward communication style. Poles are pretty direct, they're honest in their communication, they value clarity, value precision. And in my opinion, the most important thing in Polish business culture is tradition, the Polish traditional values, because the business culture the tradition and business culture really reflects the country's historical and cultural values, which have really been shaped by centuries. And Poland has a very rich cultural heritage, and this has really influenced the way that Poles conduct their business. So by actually understanding and by respecting these traditions, it is possible to build business relationships in Poland. So yeah, I guess that would be the most important facts. I would now hand over to Linda to tell a bit more. Oh, I see there's a question. Yeah, there's a question from Lisa. You know, for example, what really would be what would be an example of tradition? Poles really value their traditional food, and when there are business meetings where there's like shared food, and Poles really value, for example, when there are meals from their traditional cuisine. But there are, of course, lots of examples that are connected to the culture of Poles.
So what I think that we should do now is, Franziska, could you loop in Gabby, just because I'm not sure if Gabby has a meeting after this. And then for those that are interested in staying on, we can still, take a little bit more time on the cultural things that are really of great interest to people. So maybe we could do that.
Yes, Gabby, are you on? Because I know we have been scheduling meetings for Gabby, not only with German, but also with Polish contacts, and I think especially the hierarchy is quite similar in Germany and Poland. However, as we see, the relationship building is more objective and case level other than a personal level in Poland.
Thank you, Franziska. Yes, I'm here. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and happy Friday to everyone here on the call. I'm Gaby Bedoya. I'm with Tanner Pharma Group. We're in the pharmaceutical and medical supply device industry, and we've been in business for 20 years. We have tremendous support from the EDPNC and also with AHP International. I had the pleasure of meeting Franziska, Linda, Susan in America last year, and I also had the pleasure of meeting Nino here in North Carolina, in Charlotte, when he came over and visited us. So it's nice to see your faces again. We've had tremendous success on the partners in the conferences. I would really just highlight and encourage everyone to reach out to the EDPNC, and of course all the services that they've mentioned and that they've discussed. It has really helped when they are able to communicate in their language and having those presentations, and then having that face-to-face meetings in different trade shows. It creates a tremendous benefit for us, and there's a lot of services. Some of the services that I can remember is the International Partner Search on helping us to conclude business and really reach out to leads that we haven't reached out and they supported us on. I think it's great on getting a little bit more on the background on the cultures, because there is a difference between cultures. One thing that I do want to add on the German side that I've experienced is that they are very loyal. So at first it tends to be a little bit more difficult to really get a foot in the door, but as just consistency and really trying to build that relationship. And once you're in there, some of our biggest clients are based in Germany. And then also same in Poland, we're talking with a lot of companies on providing medicines that is going to support the Ukraine crisis that's happening with the war, and some products that are intended for radiation, and doing our part in supporting as much as we can. So it definitely, there's a lot of value. So just take me as a witness that anything, the services that they are offering, it's definitely worth it, and it has helped us a lot.
Great, thanks, Gabby. And for those of you that are under a time constraint and need to drop off the call, keep in mind that you can engage with AHP International directly. We could set up an appointment for you to finish answering the questions that you might have, or to get briefed on, these business and cultural practices that you might miss for having to drop the call. And thanks, Gabby, so much for the input. So Franziska.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Melissa. Thank you so much, Gabby. That was great input. With this, I would like to hand over to Linda, because I think Italy is certainly also a very complex market for not only Germans, but also, of course, for US clients and companies. And Linda, I'm sure you could talk a whole day, and as you do in your workshops actually, about Italy and the business culture. But here we hopefully, summarize the most important facts.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, as already mentioned, I grew up in two countries. I have an Italian mother and a German father, and they have been married for decades. So somehow it is possible to have, German-Italian relationships. I typed in a question, which countries are challenging in Europe, and I expected Italy to come up, but I didn't get any names of countries. Thank you, Gabi. Looking forward to continuing our work with you. And of course, many other North Carolina companies. Thank you for your input, and good luck in Germany and Poland. Yeah, just Italy in 2 minutes, because I'm running whole days of intercultural business seminars, for example, for big German companies who have no difficulties around the world, but just in Italy they are not able to to get the foot into the door. Italy in 2 minutes. Okay, the Italians trust the person, and not like the Germans who trust the paper. So like in Poland, it is very important to have a relationship with your Italian business partner. Business and private spheres are not really separated. So be prepared to spend some time with your Italian business partner to get to know him or her, the background, the family, to be invited at home at their homes, because they want to know who you are and which background you have, do small talk, to get to know about your family. And then once they can trust you, the person, then everything will become easy, because, the Italian is also a loyal business partner like the German, but the German likes like a contract to be on paper and really important information on paper, black on white. The Italian, if you have an important thing to tell to an Italian, you pick up the phone and you talk to this Italian person, because things that are really important are communicated from person to person, and only afterwards you can then write an email. If you just write an email, it's not as important for an Italian, right? This is the most important hint I can give. Of course, Italians are also experience a hierarchy. In Italy, it is very, very important to get the padrone. The padrone is the company owner, family-owned companies. It's the majority. To get the padrone, it's a triangle hierarchy. So the padrone is on top. And if you really want to have a decision from an Italian company, or closing a deal, you have to include the padrone in the talk, even if the padrone, who is usually a little bit older, right? Maybe he's not speaking English as well as the younger generation, but he's the most important, and he wants to be included in the in the decision making. Once you can take a translator, talk to the padrone, have lunch or dinner with with the padrone, then you can really expect an immediate decision. Usually Italians like nice titles, head of purchasing, director of so and so, whatever, dottore, everybody, you know, who has gone to high school and has maybe you know, has been to university for some years, is already dottore. It's not a PhD, but it's a nice title. So, but they are not the one who can take the decision. So really go to this padrone and take a translator, take time. And this is it about Italy, the most important hints, because we don't have much time, right? I could talk a long time about it, but if you need a help for Italy, if you don't understand things that Italian do, let me know. I will be happy to help and to explain why Italians are acting how they act. But at the end of the day, they are loyal business partners. If they trust in you, they will stay with you, they will work with you. Italians are very creative, really like you as a person, like to work with you. And yeah, and that's usually a very fruitful partnership. So I don't want to discourage anybody to work with my professionals, right? That's it, Italy in 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Franziska.
Thank you, Linda. Yeah, that was really Italy in 2 minutes. Of course, and we cannot stress this enough. Please reach out to us, reach out to EDPNC for any project. We are very happy to help you in entering and expanding in our region. We are more than happy to also review marketing material to really shape the communication towards the target market. Because as you might know, as professionals in business, most of the time, one company presentation will not serve different global markets. And yeah, we're happy to assist you and look forward to any questions you might have. Or maybe even additions by Daniel on Europe and Germany in particular.
Yeah, do we, first off, and anyone that's still on the call, do you have some follow-up questions, or did you want to flip back to a slide that, you know, that had been started? Go ahead and chime in, raise your hand, make a comment.
We will
No.
also, Melissa, take the chat because some companies typed in some questions relatively to their industry. If we can help them there, maybe we can just have another look at the chat afterwards.
Yeah, we'll do that. And just so everyone knows, so there's direct contact information that's provided on this slide. The relationship that EDPNC has with AHP International is one where AHP, of course, is doing consulting work, and this is free to use. So in order to utilize that free service, make sure that you plug in with your international trade manager so that we know, you know, the kind of the full circuit of that relationship. And perhaps if there's ever additional things that go beyond that, that you're asking them to do for you, you can reach out directly, but just know that you'll stay in the loop with EDPNC because we want to make sure that AHP gets compensated appropriately for their services.
Thank you, Melissa. I just see another question here on insights into Switzerland. And of course, Switzerland is a very unique country in Europe, sharing in the German-speaking part the same language. We do understand each other at least most of the time, but again, we also have this French-speaking part and Italian-speaking part in Switzerland, and therefore it is very important to also anticipate to deal with 3 different local distribution or sales partners, even though Switzerland as a market is, of course, a bit smaller. Some Swiss distributors, as we find in our experience, of course, also cover different regions with their staff if it's kind of speaking multiple languages.
Yeah, it is very difficult to cover Switzerland with one distribution partner because, as Franziska said, there are 3 languages, 3 cultural backgrounds. It's easier and more convenient to really cover maybe south of Germany and Switzerland with one distribution partner, and to have another one for the north of Italy, and maybe covering also this Ticino, so the Swiss, the Italian speaking. So you see, I mean, this is exactly the question we would deal with if you ask us about strategy, what is best. We can really definitely help you and with that. Yeah, there are some more questions in the chat.
Yeah, Linda, there's one very important one, and I think we should touch on it, of course, because there is a question by Lisa on the perception of Europeans of the Americans. And I think this is very important, especially when it comes to communication. And I can just maybe briefly answer for Germany in particular. What we found sometimes to have a need for adjustment is the style in communication from the US into Germany, especially when it comes to marketing material. Germans are very fact-driven, so the communication has to be as well. It's very important to have facts and figures on company material only in order to keep it straightforward, because Germans rather have it straight to the point. So sometimes I think the marketing material of a lot of US clients is very elaborate and very, very nice in design, and shows also the great variety of production sites, for example. But for Germans, it's really keep it short and simple and fact and figure driven. Maybe Linda, if you want to add anything to it.
No, I mean, that's basically it. There are, of course, differences. I think Americans are very highly regarded technology-wise from the European side. I mean, our main exporting market is the US, and we import a lot from the US and also the Italians. As Franziska said, the style of communication is a little bit different, and maybe of marketing. We see US companies or US people really as very, very good marketing people, being really able to in a simple way talk about unique selling propositions and really make it very clear and open. That's an ability we don't have so much here in Germany and Italy also. But as Franziska said, also communication is more number driven and more, you know, and very technologically more deep than you would get a marketing material in the US. But again, this is a topic we could elaborate a long time about. Yeah, so I'm just looking if I find other.
Yeah, there's a question about sustainability. Can you talk a little bit more on how important sustainability efforts are for Germany, Italian, Polish companies? Is being sustainable a high priority?
Yes, I said this is.
Sorry, I said that fast.
About the. Sorry.
No, it's
no.
So it was back to the sustainability topic, and how important is that with your overall product presentation and just desirability in those markets?
You know, I mean, I elaborated on my slide about the challenges and situation in Europe. That sustainability, green technology, CO2 neutrality is one of the big topics here we have. Overall, whole Europe, we are looking for technologies for lowering the carbon footprint, for using less energy, you know, for so this has a high impact in all over Europe, because all the European countries, they're committed to this Green Deal. Of course, Germans are more the pioneers in this, because even before the Green Deal, we were convinced of, you know, and as Franziska said, our green dominated government now has even changed the name of our Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Economic Affairs and Climate Action, right? You see it already in the name of the ministry. Before it was technology, economic affairs, and now it's climate action. So alone in the name, and we have a lot of sustainability topics in the market access program we are working in. So it has really a high impact here all over Europe. If a US company is able to offer a technology for energy efficiency, renewable energy, whatever, e-mobility, that touches all the different areas of a society, is highly welcome here in Europe. I'm talking about not Germany only, but Europe, also Poland. Yeah, Susanne, also Poland is in this sustainability mode. Maybe not, not as Germany as the forerunner, but also it being in the EU and the awareness is raising, and also, of course, we are all committed to the Green Deal, so we have to do something about it. Yeah, definitely. But happy to talk about this in another meeting, maybe.
Okay. Well, great. This has been a fantastic call. Thank you, everyone. It is almost 1:15. So I believe that the topic is of great interest and of a very high level of assistance, very beneficial. So thank you. And just remember, North Carolina companies on the call, that you can go into more depth by scheduling an appointment with these lovely ladies and their expertise. Keep us in mind, just if you're looking for additional information in these markets, since many of you are already in there, keep us in mind prior to going to a trade show, as we previously mentioned. And we look forward to engaging you. And Joe had with Insignia, he was going to give a suggestion. So suggestions welcome, email me, that's great. We look forward to getting your input on everything. And have a wonderful weekend. Any last comments?
Thank you, Melissa, for setting up this call. And I think we should repeat it somehow. Maybe I see there is a lot of interest also in this cultural topic. We are happy to do with more time to give you more insights, even with examples, whatever, if you want. I mean, we would be happy to. Because we had to cover a lot of topics, and
right. Yeah, so we could dive in. If anyone has suggestion for a thinner slice of the pie and more depth, let us know.
Yeah, right. Because I see that there's a lot of interest, and thank you to all who has been online until now for 1 hour and 15 minutes. A longer coffee talk than we was expecting it to, but I'm happy to hear about that so many of you are already experienced exporting to Europe. Europe is a topic for you. You find it challenging in some countries. That's exactly why we are here to help you. And reach out to Melissa, to the other people of the team. And again,
and Kuldeep's on the line. Hey, Kuldeep, real quick, you weren't here earlier. Can you just say hi and say what industries you cover, so people know to look for you on the website?
I see you also. Hello.
Yes, thanks, Linda and Franziska and Susanne and Melissa for this great session. I have been listening throughout this coffee talk, so wonderful. I really appreciate, and to all the North Carolina companies who want to reach out and have assistance from our German office, please reach out to one of the trade managers, Melissa, for the health sciences and the pharmaceuticals, myself for defense industry and IT, and we have 2 other trade managers. So thanks very much, Melissa, for organizing this.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a lovely weekend.
Yeah. You too have a lovely last day before the weekend.